if we kept devolving, eventually we would destroy ourselves. Like eventually we have a species-ending event, right?
Mhm.
Because we get so dumbed down that someone pushes a nuclear button or someone, do you know what I mean, creates technology that destroys us, and eventually, yeah, and the man, the core thing with the Galactic Federation is to preserve life and the evolution of life in the universe. So there is a battle of consciousness that is playing out. So at a greater level, there's this battle of consciousness that's playing out, and that battle of consciousness has heightened because those that have been most influential here on the planet are losing. So as they start to lose control and lose grip on this planet, they fight harder, of course.
Mhm.
It's also another reason why the Federation's more active now than it's ever been, because we're at the end, we're starting to get to the end of that battle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Galactic Guidance. And we have a very exciting episode here today where Marcus will be bringing in the Galactic Federation. And for those of you who don't know, the Galactic Federation is the governance of the solar system that we currently reside in. And when Marcus brings in the Galactic Federation, it sounds a little bit different to how he channels Ameed, who is his higher dimensional spirit mentor. Instead, from my understanding of what you just said, Marcus, before we went on, and hello, Marcus.
Hello, Eleni. Yes, this is something a bit different, and I actually haven't done this before, so this will be a bit of a first. And it's actually a way I used to sort of channel with Ameed way back, where she didn't necessarily take over I didn't give her permission to sort of take over me. Whereas I used to just hear the voice and then just translate it out. That's sort of how I used to do it.
Yeah, I
So
love that.
it's a little bit like that.
Yeah, so let's just do something different today where we're actually hearing from the
Yeah.
Galactic Federation. And I understand that they're not going to be using your voice box, but you're still going to be listening to them and basically telling us what you hear.
Yeah, basically that's how it works. And how this came about, just to give some context, is I have been sort of working with the Galactic Federation for a long period of time. There were moments where Ahmed obviously introduced me to that concept. And when I was, when this first sort of happened 25, 30 years ago, um, I used to be taken to the Galactic Federation, and there's a particular planet in the Lyra system. And what I would do is I go into these really huge, massive pyramids. And as you go into these pyramids, there are different rooms. And in each of the rooms, there's like this education that goes on. And so they would take me into certain rooms to learn certain things. So a whole lot of the stuff that I downloaded and I now teach in some of my programs were when I was actually in these rooms. And kind of the fun part was you're in a room with lots of other species, not just humans. So it was
Wow.
kind of really an interesting experience. So as much as I used to channel Armid and she'd give me information, I also went and had almost like this training camp at these places. And so that was my first sort of introduction. And then ever since then, they come from time to time and have a chat and give other bits of information from a more sort of galactic, sort of global point of view,
So when they
as
say that,
opposed,
oh, so I'll
yeah,
just stop you there because I just
yeah,
want
yeah,
to
of course.
clarify. So when you say they just come on in, do they do like knock knock? Marcus, can we talk to you? Or do you call them
Okay.
in? How does
So,
it happen?
okay, so the other day, so they've come in really strongly over the last sort of week or 10 days, and this is how we got to this today, because I was just telling Eleni about this recent experience, and she said, yeah, we should talk about that. And I went, oh, okay. Anyway, so what happened was in this case is I went, so I meditate most days in the morning generally. And I go to my normal pyramid, and Armid then, I invite Armid in. She comes through the wall and we sit and chat and walk around the pyramid and talk, or whatever it might be. Anyway, when I went into one of my meditations last week, the pyramid was a crystal pyramid, full crystal pyramid. And Ameed was there on the outside of the pyramid, which is not normal. Normally I go in and then she sort of comes in when I invite her. But she's on the outside. She led me into the pyramid. And then I sat in sort of the middle of this pyramid, and a number of other beings came in from the Galactic Federation. We just started talking about, what was playing out and what they needed me and us to do. And I went, that's kind of interesting. So and again, I never went into the meditation going, oh, I'm going to connect with the Galactic Federation today. This will be fun. It just sort of appears, right?
Mm.
And it often becomes as much a surprise to me as anybody else, because it's like, oh, that's weird. Okay, there's Ameed and there's a crystal pyramid. Okay, what are we doing? What's this about? And then it sort of unfolds from there. And, a number of things have unfolded since that. So it's kind of interesting, because I don't necessarily talk to the Galactic Federation every week or they just come from time to time when I need to, I don't know, I need to share something on the planet, basically. So, so it's interesting, because they've talked, or now Ameed certainly talked to me, and I think maybe she's even shared it here. I can't remember, obviously. That there are lots of beings that are sort of coming to help, right? And they've been coming to help for a while now, and there's lots of energies, there's lots of off-world friends that are in various places around the Earth, whether it's on the other side of the moon or just around the Earth. It's almost like they're here trying to hold the energy and help us in this next stage of our evolution, which is the transition into the next dimension of reality. And in particular, they've been here of recent to help us to turn the devolution back around to an evolutionary state. So we've been a de-evolutionary planet where, the whatevers have tried to dumb us down as much as possible, and they've done a really good job. Because one of the most powerful things in the universe is consciousness. So if we can, if they, it, whatever, whoever, can make us as lower consciousness as possible, then that's a great controlling thing, and therefore we have no power and can't do anything. Whereas the opposite is true. Consciousness is one of the most powerful sources of energy in the universe, but we've been led to think it's not. So they're definitely coming around now to help in the evolutionary process of the planet, because the devolution can only go so far, to the point where if we kept devolving, eventually we would destroy ourselves. Like eventually we have a species ending event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we get so dumbed down that someone pushes a nuclear button, or someone, do you know what I mean, creates technology that destroys us. And eventually, yeah, and the core thing with the Galactic Federation is to preserve life and the evolution of life in the universe. So the Federation was set up to sort of manage that and to keep bringing it back to that stability, and to try and keep the universe stable. So not trying to influence the universe, as in, the universe should all be light and love and joy, right? But rather the universe needs to be in a stable state so that it can expand and do what it needs to do. So they created this construct of a number of different sort of species and planetary beings into this sort of federation to manage and monitor and continue the journey of universal expansion.
Mm.
So
and these beings were selected by source?
Yeah, by universal source.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're sort of, I don't like to use the word mandate, because that was certainly not helpful in the sea experience we had, but their sort of mandate is they can't influence a species, right? They can only support and help and mentor or guide, or however, if there's a species ending event, then they can influence, they can do whatever they need to do to stop that.
Okay.
And they've done that on our planet a number of times already. And there's video footage of it.
Wow.
So there's video footage of these. So I think the US or Russia, one of the two, were experimenting with a new nuclear ballistic missile that had a nuclear warhead, and they sent it off into the atmosphere. And there's actually video footage of, I think, maybe 3 little balls going around this this nuclear weapon and then exploding it.
Wow.
and
Incredible.
nullifying it. There's lots and lots of stories about that. And they tend to get alerted. One of the first ways they get alerted is when a species starts to uh, have nuclear activity. That's the very first thing that alerts them to, okay, we need to take a look at this. So they've watched our planet ever since the fall in Egypt, but they haven't. There's only been a few, not huge amounts of beings here. Certainly not from the Federation, anyway. They've just been around and they've been watching and observing, and because we agreed on the fall at some level, they've had to allow that to play out, right? And we've continued to agree on the fall, so they've had to allow that to play out. And then when we got nuclear power, or we worked out nuclear, lots more came, because it was like, hang on a minute. And the concern always is the consciousness at the same level as the technology?
Exactly. Right? Because if the technology is too advanced, correct, and our consciousness is correct, too low, that's where we've got epic
we're in
issues.
All sorts of trouble. That's where we get into big trouble. So that's certainly what happened, is that the consciousness was not in line with our technology, still not, and therefore that's what's brought them here en masse to support and help us. And now that AI is starting, again, consciousness is not in line with AI. So we're creating these things from a devolutionary state, right? So it's a little bit like, it'd be like giving a baby or a child a cigarette lighter or a match that's in flame, right? The baby's going to go, wow, this is amazing. Oh my God, I love this is so cool. But they're going to burn themselves or burn the whole house down. Do you know what I mean? And because the consciousness, they don't realize, oh, this match is dangerous and here's what it could do. And here, do you know what I mean? They don't get it. And we've been a little bit like that. We just don't get it.
And so when you hear from the Galactic Federation, do you hear one voice from all of them, or does one come forward at a time?
Multiple voices, generally. It could. They generally never come one person, or one being. It's generally multiple beings that present.
Okay.
They often come in three, generally. Although the other day, I don't know how many was there. There was quite a few there the other day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you want to get into it, Marcus?
Well, we can just, let's see what happens. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah, of course.
And we'll just see. I mean, we'll just call them in, invite them in, and I'll just tune in and we'll just see what happens. Yeah, do you have any questions, Noel?
Yeah, sure. I've got a question about physical symptoms that are playing out in the human body. From what I can see, quite a bit. So can they give any kind of explanation as to why we're, symptoms like fatigue, tiredness, exhaustion, apathy, what's going on there?
This suffering that we go through, in a way, or just mainly fatigue? And
I think physical symptoms at this point in time just seems to be feeling a bit different than usual.
So one of the things that I'm just listening to. So part of this is the turning of a corner for us, and that we are now sort of rapidly heading the other way, and we're not used to that rapid heading the other way. And so the key with when we head the other way, as they're saying, when you head the other way, is it's almost like what they're trying to say is it's almost like releasing. So one of the examples that they have shared before and they're sharing again now is that there's a container of energy or a container of consciousness that we have. And when we're in a third density reality, there's there's a quanta of this sort of energy or consciousness. And for that to shift and change, we have to release one thing to receive another thing, right? So we can't just receive without releasing, because it's a bit like filling up a balloon. Eventually it's going to burst, right? So as the information's trying to get in and information's trying to get out, any resistance is going to create things like fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the body's desperately trying to remove something which we're trying to hold on to, and it's trying to accept something which we're trying to push away, right? So we end up in this battle of resistance and repelling. Now, the resistance we're probably all very aware of, and we've, been in that forever, which is, shifting a belief system, letting go of a trauma, letting go of issues and problems and blah, 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 whatever, right? We've been on that journey for a while. But the thing that's new that makes this now different is that in the past, it's been a bit of an organic process where we're just trying to release something and then some new stuff comes in gently and it's all nice and gentle. And if we don't release, it doesn't really matter so much, although potentially long-term illness, could be part of that. That if we're not releasing, then, it gets embedded in the physical somewhere and it turns into disease.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the difference is there's more information trying to be brought in. So there's a higher influx of energy sort of in, or information in, and therefore, and this can explain to some of us why old patterns of behavior and old things that you go, oh, I thought I dealt with that, comes back up, right?
Yeah.
Because it's another level of releasing that we have to do. So the fatigue and tired is just this battle that's going on in our bodies of, oh no, I have to release that, more of that. Oh, I can't be bothered. Oh my God, no more of that. I've done that. Oh my God, right?
So it's
And
not nefarious
information.
energies getting involved here in polluting the atmosphere or anything like that?
Well, there's definitely all those things playing out as well. So there is a battle of consciousness that is playing out. So at a greater level, there's this battle of consciousness that's playing out. And that battle of consciousness has heightened because those that have been most influential here on the planet are losing. So as they start to lose control and lose grip on this planet, they fight harder, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's also another reason why the Federation's more active now than it's ever been, because we're starting to get to the end of that battle.
Mm-hmm.
And when that battle is finished and sort of won, it's not really won, it's not sort of how it exactly works. When the transition happens, and it's like, it's more like the baton gets handed over, like if we're in a relay race, I'm just seeing that image, that it's more like the baton gets handed over. Once the baton's handed over, then things will accelerate even faster, even more. Now, the trick when that happens is that if you're in the journey of expanding your consciousness, right? If you're in that, what we might call the spiritual journey, or they say you call the spiritual journey. If you're in that journey, then the quickening's still going to be felt as we are feeling it now, right? So it's still going to be felt, but we'll be able to journey with it,
Mm-hmm.
with the information I'm sharing now and that others have been sharing. Those that aren't in that, it's going to be really tough for them. It's going to be really tough, and therefore we start to see more of what we might call mental illness, which I think is what we've been seeing a lot of. A lot of more confusion, a lot more people feeling lost, and because part of the shift from one consciousness to another is that you have to let go of a whole lot of belief systems, because
And the
belief
ground
systems,
is almost falling away from you.
correct. And so there's a whole lot of beliefs that have to be let go of, right? So initially we don't let go of beliefs. It's one of the last things we hold on to because it makes us feel safe and, sure of the boundaries that we're in, the fence that we've created. But as that falls away, if you're not in this process of allowing that to fall away and the new to appear, then it's going to be really hard. It's going to hurt a lot. So again, with this sort of more new downloaded information coming, it's almost like it's trying to push itself into us now. Therefore, it's pushing the other stuff out. And the resistance is going to create more and more fatigue now, because unlike before where it just sort of organically flowed or didn't, right? If you didn't let it flow, then yes, disease could have been caused or more pain gets caused, but it's never been pushed as fast as it's being pushed now. Do you know what I mean? And that's the amount of information that's being put onto the planet right now. So we've got more activity in the sun, which shares information. So every photon of light has data in it. So there's more activity there. There's more craft and beings that are here on the planet or observing the planet or sending information onto the planet than there has ever before. So we've got all of this consciousness data being sent to the planet. Not to force us, but to provide us with the flip and the way into the next evolution.
Basically, we're just getting geared up with all the resources that we need. And probably why, like I know for myself, like every opportunity I can go outside, I just want to be outside. It's because, like you said, the sun is giving us information into activating our DNA. I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it actually opens up more codes of access codes and information.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what you said before with, passing the baton.
Yes.
So can you give us, only because that's what the human likes this linear time frame.
Yeah.
Can you give us, like, when's the baton actually going to be passed to the next player?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, as always, they never sort of give firm dates because they can't influence us unduly.
But what do they say to this question?
They say that the energy is building and that we will notice the closer it gets, the more energy builds. So the more activity that happens, both from a positive and negative. We want to stay earthly, right? And what we will feel more and more of this energy until it hits its high point, and then it sort of almost breaks, right? And the baton starts to be handed over. So one of the messages they want me to give everybody is that they want you to be in the process of approving their help. Now, that's different to saying, oh God, please protect me or help me, or beings, whatever, please help me, please help us, right? That's a plead. So that activity is a pleading state, right? Please help me, please help me. It's not an empowered state, right? It's a disempowered state. It's actually coming from a disempowered state, right? So that when you feel at your worst, and there's nothing wrong asking God for help or asking, do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that please help me type of thing. But it is an old energy, and it's not the energy they need to come and help. Just because we plead to them, please come down. And I've been doing this for a while now, right? Ever since the sea happened. I'm like, okay, guys, if you're going to come and intervene, now's the time. Please come and intervene, right? It's different. So what they're asking for now is a conscious approval of them coming and helping, which means it's not a plead, please come and help. It's actually, I give approval for the Galactic Federation to intervene and support and assist us. Right? That's the message now.
It feels different. It feels more collaborative rather than they're higher than us. Can you please help the small being?
Correct.
It's more like, hey, let's work together.
That's exactly right.
I give you approval to do whatever we need to do together.
Correct. That's exactly what it is. You've nailed it right perfectly, because they're not here to take over the planet and sort everything out for us. That's not what they will do, right? They're not really allowed to do that. What they can do with our permission is join us and help us as a collective to get back on the evolutionary path. That's really what the message is. And you can add whatever you want in to make sure you're calling the right beings in, right? So I always address them with the Galactic Federation. So I give the Galactic Federation full approval to come in and support us and help us and to work together to get back on that evolutionary path together for the most highest beautiful good of ourselves, of them, of the universe at large. That's what I give approval for.
Beautiful. Right? I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And we have been giving approval to the not so great energies for a long time now through sneaky ways, which is, it's almost like in that energy, it's almost like if you don't say no, you've approved. So if they show something in movie form, or they show a politician saying something or a being saying something, and even if we don't think it's right, if we don't say absolutely no, then it's a sort of a subtle approval.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, Eleni, if I say, to you, I want you to go to the front door, right? Or I want to influence you in some way, and you don't say no, that's a yes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost this sort of implied consent that if you don't actually say, no, Marcus, I don't want you to do that, then I've got approval to do that. That's sort of been the very old energy. Once the new energy comes in, that will be shut down because we'll move to another dimension where that doesn't no longer exist. So we will be much more protected and much more sovereign and much more autonomous
So in the
than we have
meantime,
been. In the meantime,
we've got to not consent. So when we feel these energies, sometimes you feel that it's not quite right, that you just listen to something and you feel a bit.
Correct. The minute you have that, you say, no, I do not give approval for any of that to enter my consciousness. You know what I mean? I don't give approval. And it's all about consciousness. This is the interesting thing that they've always said to me, and even saying now, that this is about consciousness. It's not about the planet per se. It's not about whatever. It's about consciousness. And we don't realize how powerful consciousness is and how important consciousness is in the universe, and how, in fact, the whole universe is just consciousness, right? So this is a battle over our consciousness, and why right now we have to be conscious, as in, I give permission for the Galactic Federation, It's a conscious decision. And like you were saying, when you see something you feel, it doesn't feel quite right, or I'm not sure about that you don't just do nothing, right? You don't just go, I'm not sure about that, and then get on with your day. That you actually anchor in and go, I do not give approval for that at any level, in any dimension. And any approvals that I have given unconsciously, I now revoke unequivocally.
Right?
So we just take back anything that we did approve. And it's about getting as many people as possible to be doing this, because once it hits a certain number of people, then it's sort of approval for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like when it hits a certain number,
there's a collective consciousness that
tips
that will turn the tide.
Correct.
But the first thing that needs to happen before we give consent or revoke consent is that we need to be present with how we're feeling.
Totally. Absolutely. We need to be fully present and conscious, and we need to start to heighten our awareness. And that awareness starts on the inside, right? Where you are, and the key with this is not being on one side or the other, but being in the middle.
That 0 point.
Correct. It's the 0 point. So as you are thinking about beliefs, start entertaining firstly the opposite of the belief, and then sit in the middle of those two beliefs, if it's two beliefs. So for example, the classic one Ameed always says to me is, or used to as an example, is flat earth, round earth, right? So she said, don't sit in round earth, don't sit in flat earth. And in fact, the gateway to get into the middle was to entertain the possibility that it is a flat earth. So she said, the first thing you do, right, because she knew I believe in round earth, right? She goes, the first thing you do is sit with flat earth and actually entertain the fact that could be right. And what would happen if that was right? That's interesting. So that got me then opening up to all sorts of things that happened because of that. Then it was about, okay, now don't attach to that. Now sit back in the middle. And the little joke I make is, imagine that the Earth's a triangle. Do you know what I mean? Just something, just to split those two and go, okay, I'm in the middle now. It's not round, it's not flat, maybe it's a triangle, maybe it's not that either. But I'm just sitting in the middle of those two things, and I'm not 100% believing one or the other.
Perfect.
Right?
So can I ask the Galactic Federation a last final question? Do they have a message for light workers, way showers who are here to help with the evolution of consciousness on the planet at this time?
Yeah. So obviously they're the first people that the Federation are coming to or talking to because of the consciousness state that they're in. And the biggest message is it's now time to fully sort of evolve past the me-ness of it and into the we-ness of it, or the collective we, not just from a, hey, it's you and me and our community, Eleni, or you and me and the country, oh, you and me and the world. It's actually you, me, and them. Do you know what I mean? And to realize that we live in a universe teeming with life. And this is something Ameed shared lots, and they share lots, is that we live in a universe teeming with life. And there's so much practical proof that that is true, and that we need to start expanding our consciousness into that reality. And that's super important. Again, you don't have to believe one or the other, but don't believe one or the other. Do you know what I mean? Like, sit in the middle of that potentiality, because that opens up to the truth, right? When you don't sit in a particular belief, then it opens up to the truth.
Yeah, let go of opinions.
Let go of opinions, let go of how things are going to show up or not show up or whatever, and just be with the presence of it. Because another question they asked the other day of my group, and I'll share it here, they came in and they asked the question, and they want me to share it again, which is, how would you like us to show up? So if we were to actually come and be present with you in physical form, how would we show up for you guys? It was a really interesting question. And it's not that they actually want to know the answer per se, but they want us to expand the consciousness. So then I started thinking, okay, if I go into the movie style thing, which is where you always go first, then they're going to turn up at the end of my bed or tap on the window in the middle of the night, right? And I'm like, that's probably not the best way to show up, right? Because that'll scare the bejesus out of me, right? And I'm likely to have a heart attack, as anyone else would. So what else? So then I thought, okay, what if they just knocked on the door in the middle of the day? How would I feel about that? Well, that could be interesting. Or what if they came to me in my dreams? That would be interesting. Or, so they just started to get me thinking, and my community in particular, and now this wider community, of how would you like us to show up that would mean that you're not scared or frightened or terrified, or, do you know what I mean? Like any, because they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Now, they already know the way to show up, but they want us to bring our consciousness into it, because as we just spoke about before, and they've said, this is a collective journey. This is not a them, us. This is not a they're better than us. We're just these mere mortals, because they know the soul aspect of who we are, right? And at a soul aspect level, we are them. They are us. They're no more better or intelligent, or we have that within our DNA. We have it in our soul, right? We just chose to downgrade ourselves onto this craziness to help the evolution, right? So we're on this mission that we decided to do. And they're now helping us to remember and to be the transition, because when a planetary system moves into another dimension, it's the consciousness that pushes the whole system into that. Right? Without consciousness, the system can't evolve into that. So this is another reason why beings are popped on planets or solar systems around the universe, to help expand that system. Without consciousness, or without this sort of more biological active, or what they might call active consciousness, it's hard for it to do that on its own. So we are like catalysts, activators, sparks, right? That ignite the collective conscious. Now, the collective conscious on any system is not just the live, what we might call a live being, but it's the plants and animals and rocks and soil and everything in the system, right? And we're like the transformers in a electrical system. We're like the sparks that ignite the consciousness within that system. Otherwise, the system stays in its sort of stable consciousness, right? So it just stays where it's at, without a sort of life form, or what we might consider a life form. When a life form appears, it's like a beacon of light that then comes together to get the collective conscious and move everything together. Now, our tribal, our pre the fall knew this, and we call them primitive beings and tribal beings, but they knew this. That's why they were working with the land, and they work with everything, because they knew that the consciousness evolution is not just a human individual thing, or do you know what I mean? It's an everything thing. So that's why they were one with the planet, one with the animals, one with, we sit here and think, oh, well, they did that because they were sustainable and they were living off the land, but there was so much more going on.
Of course, because everything affects everything else.
And they knew that, right? But the devolution has created us as individual beings separate to everything, which we know is not true. And anyone who's a light worker, like you were saying before, is way past that now, and knows that everything's connected and that this is a collective experience, et cetera, et cetera. That's why they're coming to us predominantly, because we have the consciousness to sort of understand what they're saying, and then actually be able to give that sort of collective sort of approval of what's needing to happen next.
Beautiful.
So that's the
Wow, that
core
was a
messages.
lot of
So
teaching in that last segment, Marcus.
yeah,
Incredible. I think that
there
if you're
is.
listening, you need to actually rewind and listen to it again, because there was a lot in there. A lot in there.
Yeah,
What do you
there's a
think? Do
lot.
you think there's time to bring a final message from Ameed?
Do we need to today? I think. What do you want to say? I don't know. I mean, Ahmed's always got something to say if you want to do
Of course. Let's
it.
just do it. Let's just do a
All right,
final message.
let's just drop in because
Where
we're
she, where
already
she
pretty
just says,
connected.
yeah.
It is all the march of the joyness that we are being in of this moment, and we are march here to be of the assistance of the what you might be thinking of, the holding of the hand, to be of the introduction to this of the message. There is much of the energetic expansion that is being in of the happening in this of the moment. And as you have been being of the mentioning, Miss Eleni, this is much of the collective experience, and we are now in a more of the oneness than we have ever been in of a oneness with all of these of the beings here in this of the solar of the system. There is much of the happening. There is much of the watching, much of the interest in what is about to be of the happening. This shifting from one of the dimensions of reality to a next dimension of reality is much of a joyful of the experience. And there are many that are being in of the watching of this moment of the unfolding. And you are not being in of the realizing that this is like of your, what you be thinking of your moment of the out of timeness. You are calling of your new of the year, new of the yearness, and you are thinking of the new of the yearness. There is of the countdown, and then when of the countdown is been of the finishing, you are making all of the works of the fire and making all of the happiness and of the joyness. And we are watching this like this is of the happiness of the new year. This is a transition, transformation into the next dimension of the reality scape, is much like of the new year, but of a galactic universal construct. We are here to be of the celebration as much as we are here to be of the assistance and of the helpingness of this transformation, this experience. And we are always of the celebration when this is happening in other of the systems around of the universe. And this is happening in many of the systems in this of the moment. There is much of a collective transformation in this part of the universal construct.
Thank you so much, Ameed. As we close off the year, is there any personal messages for me?
Oh, the miscellanea of the messages. This is of the interesting nature. There is a much of the movement that is being in of the happening, and we are sensing of your movement into our next evolution of your expression here on the planetary construct. And we would be much of the invitation for you to be more of the participation in this evolutionary construct. For many of the messages that you are here to be of the sharing are related and interconnected into this experience, into this collective of the experience. There is a much of the energy of animals with you in the also. We are sensing a much of the experience of the animals in the of your field. And we would be asking you to be of the inviting of the animals into your field. There is of the animals here to be of the supportingness and be of the helpfulness for you to be of the expression of this collectiveness of the experience. But we are here to be of the inviting, and we are of the joyness that you are being of the stepping into this of the evolutionary construct, and you will be much more of the expressing of this collective of the message. In fact, we are being of the invitation for you to step even further into this space. You are in of the process of the receptivity and of the receiving of the information. Your what you're calling of your guide is much of the stronger here and over of this period where you are being in of the quietness of the space. You will be able to be connecting even of the deeper. We will be of the asking you to be of the inviting in, even of the more strongly than you have been in of the inviting in the past, because it is now much of the time for you to be in of the receptivity of this information and then be sharing that information out. We would be asking you to be of the releasing of what you are thinking you are here to be, of the sharing, and be of the more of the fully embracing of what you are actually here to be, of the sharing. And you are knowing much of this, but there is a further extension of this, further expansion of this, and you are going to be of the allowing of the connection of this and be receiving this from of the mentor that is much of the connected with you. So be in of the process of welcoming in of the animalness, the energy of the animalness, but then also be in of the welcoming of the energies of your mentor. You must be also remembering for this to be of the receptivity. You must be of the releasing something that is not of, that is allowing for the space for this to be of the happening.
Thank you so much, Ameed. I want to say thank you for your presence, for your consistency, for your support, for your unwavering guidance and wisdom and love. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Much of the love, much of the joy. We are loving much of the collaboration. This is much of the excitement. And this is what we are being of the sent here to be a part of, this collective, collaborative, much of the excitement. We are much of the joyness of the evolutionary process. And this is what we are being on our mission to be of the assistance with. And we are much of the love, much of the joy, much of the.
Thank you.
There we go. Wow.
That was a double doozy to end the year with the Galactic Guidance and Ameed.
Yes,
so
it's good.
Well, that was a
big one for the
that
end
was
of the
a
year.
big final episode that had so many gems. And
perfect.
Just this final message that Ameed said, if I can just reiterate, which is, in order to receive, we do need to let go. We do need to let go. We do need to let go.
Create space.
Create space.
In the container.
Create physical space by getting rid of stuff.
Everything.
Create mental space by letting go.
Yep.
In
emotional
every area.
Space. Every area. Yeah. And then I think the energy comes back because you're not fighting it, and the risk of blowing the balloon up, where it pops is less. Right. Yeah. And this is going to, what I'm sensing is this is going to happen faster and faster as we step into the next year. So we really have to be in the activeness of this.
Totally. I actually know this, and I'm ready to step into the arena.
Yeah, perfect. It's time.
I've rested, and
you're ready.
Time to dive in.
And you had to rest because of what's coming, right? So it's perfect. It's perfect. So cool. Yay. Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas, and however you celebrate, whatever it is for you. And thanks, Eleni.
Thank you.
Yay.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.